Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront updates and some more LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga content. Today I wanted to talk about some recent marketing from TT Games with new screenshots, new details on what we can expect to see from IGN's Fan Fest this weekend, some responses from TT Games out on Twitter in regards to the difficulty of the game, as well as some interesting combat details from a GameSpot article that I haven't covered before. But before we get into the details, I wanted to give a shout out to my sponsor Elgato. They just released their brand new Key Light Mini, which is basically a smaller and cheaper version of the key lights I use through my live streams with built-in batteries, meaning you can use them for photography or really anything on the go without having to worry about powering them. You can of course also use them as normal stream lights. The possibilities are endless, and if you're interested in them or any of their other content creation products, make sure to follow the link in the description below. But now let's get into the details, and let's start off with the official marketing from LEGO Star Wars on Twitter, Instagram, and so on. They tweeted this image a couple of days ago saying, "Get sand in your gears on Tatooine, #NoFilter, #LEGO Star Wars game," showcasing R2-D2 and C-3PO on Tatooine with a couple of Twi'leks in the back and of course a dewback. So it's great to again see the environments really stand out with some pretty good quality graphics, although I think we got a good glimpse of that in the trailer already. Secondly, on Valentine's Day they actually posted the following image saying, "What's not to love? Who's your Star Wars Valentine?" showing Kylo Ren with this "I Love Darth Vader" shirt. I am guessing this is probably going to be a skin available in the game, otherwise I'd be surprised, but nevertheless pretty comical skin, and I'm not sure if this is going to be like an Easter egg to unlock or if it's going to be something you can get easily, but that's probably something we'll see later down the line when the game is actually out. Now let's move over to some of the details we've gotten over the last couple of days that I wanted to share with you all. First of all, in case you didn't know, IGN is hosting a Fan Fest on Saturday where they will be showcasing a lot of different games, movies and series, and LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is one of them. So far we haven't known what to expect from it, but they just went out and said the following. LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is almost here on April 5th, 2022. Fans of the galaxy far, far away will be able to play through LEGO versions of all 9 films in the Skywalker Saga with over 300 characters from the most popular to the most obscure. During IGN Fan Fest, fans will be treated to a never-before-seen behind-the-scenes look at the making of the game and an in-depth interview with TT Games Director of Production Jonathan Smith. So it's going to be interesting to see some behind-the-scenes stuff on how they're working on the game, and also the interview will hopefully shed some more light on the details we don't already know about the game and answer our final questions about the game, because as of right now we know quite a lot about the game, but there's still a few things that are unclear that I'm sure they would be able to clarify in an interview. So make sure to tune in to IGN's Fan Fest at 11 AM PT on Saturday. Next up, we have a response out on Twitter from TT Games when they were asked in regards to the difficulty of the game and if you will actually have different difficulty settings like easy, hard, medium, master like some games have, and they said the following. "Hello, LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga doesn't have different modes to choose from, however there are several settings to help make the game easier or harder, such as toggling the automatic health recovery option on and off." I think this sounds like a perfect balance. We don't need to have different difficulties in a LEGO game in my opinion, but you can definitely have options like this to make it a little bit easier if you struggle or if you want to make it like super casual and not even have to worry about dying at all. Like I mentioned in a previous video, there was also several other options to make things a little bit easier, like when you fall off a ledge and will instantly teleport back up again. So they've done everything they can to make the game as accessible as possible. Let's talk a little bit about some combat details from a GameSpot article from a while back where they talked to the producer of the game, and I thought there were some quite interesting details here that hasn't been discussed too much. And the first thing he said was, "Combat has had a massive overhaul in this game. Enemies will block or even try to rush you, and you can either combat roll out of the way, counter these ambushes with a special attack, or switch up attacks to break their block." We've also introduced character classes, which all come with their own upgrades. For example, you can upgrade protocol droids to emit shockwaves when they detach their upper and lower halves, stunning all enemies in a small radius. We want to make combat overall more engaging with more ways to use character quirks to your advantage and add to that sense of power and progression. I think this sounds very interesting, especially considering how simplistic the previous LEGO games have been. where it's basically just spam the attack button most of the time, with of course jump attacks and blocks as well. But being able to combat roll out of the way and with enemies being able to block or even trying to rush you, it's definitely going to be a bit more advanced, but I would imagine that you can still play very straightforward and just kind of bash your way through the game if you want to, although you might die a lot and lose out on some studs. But I'm happy that they're doing some stuff to make the combat a little bit more interesting. And obviously that goes for force powers as well, because he says the following: force powers can be used with free aim, allowing you to grab any nearby Lego rocks or debris and hurl it at any enemies nearby, which is extremely satisfying to do with explosive barrels or even battle droids themselves. Same with blasters, you can now free aim and shoot enemies with precision, allowing complete control on how you save the galaxy and defeat the Empire. I think this really takes the progression of LEGO games to the next level, especially if you compare like the complete saga to the Clone Wars game, where the Clone Wars game allowed for some picking up and throwing droids or aiming them a little bit, but nowhere near a complete free aim like this game seems to have, both with the blasters and of course with the force powers. But for instance, for the force powers, it kind of reminds me of the old Revenge of the Sith game. I know there's other games where you can throw stuff and control it yourself, but I do remember that the Revenge of the Sith game was a game where I really enjoyed being able to pick up basically most objects around you and chuck them at the enemies, whether it was just rocks or explosive barrels. And considering how many random objects that the LEGO games tends to have around the map, I think it's going to be perfect to be able to just spam throw those straight at the enemies. And lastly, the producer also talked a little bit about the roster of characters in the game. And like I said in that previous official quote, they said there's going to be over 300 characters, but here the producer actually said that there are 400 playable characters and more than 800 overall, counting NPCs of course. And that's a gigantic roster of characters, and even if quote-unquote only half the characters are playable, that's still a shit ton of characters to unlock, play as, and experience throughout the game. So overall, pretty much all the stuff we hear about this game sounds great. Now, whether or not the game lives up to the hype or not, that's always hard to say. We've seen a lot of games get hyped up and then completely die down. But LEGO games tend to deliver what they promise, at least so far, so I'm hoping this is not going to be any different. But that's really all the details I had for you today. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga and all things Star Wars gaming. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.